So the initial screen here, we want to have it come in a quick way, but in a nice interactive way that gets users a little bit excited. After all, this is Bose. They're a pretty cool company. They're pretty innovative, and I think this app should feel pretty interactive, pretty engaging, and maybe not super static. So let's think about how we want to animate this. First of all, I'm going to select these guys, so just to see them here. One thing I usually do, just to make this easy for me to keep track, I would change the colors. So for example, I'm going to select all these, and I'm going to click on the color here, and I'm going to give these a color of red. Actually, let's give it a different color. It's something that stands out. There we go. And I'm going to do the same for these, and I'm going to give, select them all, and I'm going to give them a color of, say, blue. And then I'm going to do the same for these, and say peach. So what I like about this is I can easily look at these and tell what which section they are, which part of which card they are. One thing I will change is this guy. I'm gonna give it a different color so it's not confusing. Okay, that's just a visual cue that I personally use. It just helps me group these things quickly. So we're gonna start off here with an empty screen, and these are gonna come in very quickly and in an interesting way. So I'm gonna first take all these, and I'm gonna move my cursor a little bit, and I'm gonna do the open square bracket, which moved all these a little bit. And the only reason I did this, just so I don't see them right away. At least now it's clean, and I can worry just about these guys and making them come in. We're gonna make these just fade in very quickly. So this is my search icon and my back arrow. Select them both. I'm gonna press T, and I'm gonna click on the opacity, make that 0, and make it at the half a second mark. I'm gonna make that be 100. So just a quick fade for these guys, and I'm gonna make the bows come in from the side. Let me press the P for position, and drop one keyframe here and drop another keyframe here. So I'm just pressing J and K, jumping between my keyframes, and at the first keyframe here I'm gonna make it be outside, and now it animates like this. Obviously it's very linear, very boring, but let us take these two keyframes and let me give it a nice ease in, ease out at around 60%. Replay that. Okay, and for this guy, let me also let me do the same thing for him. Let me drop in a position right here, and then another position right there, and I'm gonna take both those keyframes and just click on this right here, which is gonna apply the same exact easing as the bows, so they come in just like this. And let's make them be a little bit longer. Right now I have it half a second. Let's make it be at exactly 1 second. Now if I want to drag these two keyframes to be exactly at the 1 second mark here, I'm gonna hold, with my timeline being right here, I'm gonna hold shift and drag these, and now they're exactly at that 1 second. So it's just a little bit it's rendering slow, so I'm going to replay it. Looks good, but I think I want the ease out at the end to be a little bit stronger. Okay. All looks good for now. We'll revisit it in a bit once we see it with the full screen. So this looks good, and then these guys, we need them to come in a quick way and in an interesting way. One thing I'm gonna do here, so I'm not animating each one of these. I'm gonna make each one of these cards have one parent layer, which is gonna be the base, and the rest will be tied to that parent layer. So all I have to worry about is moving this. So I'm gonna take these guys, and I know that the rectangle here is my base, so I'm gonna select all these guys, and I'm gonna take this whip here and drag it to the rectangle. And I'm gonna do the same for this, and to select all these guys, drag it to the rectangle. Same for this, drag. And now what this does is, if I just select just this layer and I move it, everything moves with it, which is gonna make it a lot easier to keep these guys bundled up together. So let me take these 4 rectangles here and press the P and drop in a keyframe so they end here, and then I'll drag this keyframe right here, and then let's do that over again. Let's take this, move it aside, this aside. See, that's instantly creating the animation for us, so at least they come in like that. So now if I do this, they come in like this, which obviously is linear. We want to give this a little bit of the right easing, so I will take these 4 and give them that same easing we did, so they all come in like this. It's a little slow right here, just because it's rendering. So obviously it looks pretty robotic. They all come in at the same exact time and kind of a boring speed. But let's give this a little bit more life. Let me go back to this keyframe here, and let me take this guy and press actually, let me go to this keyframe here and press let's select all these 3, sorry, first, and then press R for rotation. Let's drop in a rotation keyframe here. So at this point in time, we want them all to be 0% rotation, 0 degrees I should say, so it's lined up nicely. But then I'm gonna click U, I'm gonna click J to go back into the keyframe here, and I'm gonna make them all rotate slightly so it gives them a little bit more of an organic feel. I'm gonna click on this, and I'm gonna rotate this guy a little bit like this, and then I'm gonna move him a little bit so he's outside the canvas. And the same for this one. I'm gonna make him rotate like this and move him a little bit out. And then this guy, same thing. And then let's take all of these and also apply some easing to it. So now you'll notice they kind of rotate and slide in. And then let's give them a little bit of a bounce to them. With Motion V2, there's a excite feature here that kind of gives them a little bit of a nice bounce. So the way we're gonna do that is we're gonna select all these end keyframes here, and I'm gonna press hold Command and click on them, and that's gonna kill the easing it had. The reason for that is because when we do click on this excite tool, it does its own thing, and the easing can't interfere with that. So I'm gonna click on that, and it's doing its thing right now. And let me also click on all the initial keyframes. Let me change the way they come in. I'm gonna click on this guy, which gives us another set of easing, just so if we do want to have a couple of different settings, we can do that. I'm gonna give this one a really high ease in and ease out. So now they come in really in a high kind of ease in, ease out, and then they have a little bounce. Let's see how that looks. Okay, that's cool. The bounce is probably a little too strong. Let's see that again. Bounce is a bit too strong. Let's fix that. We can select these guys and then go to our effects right here, and you'll notice that there's some settings here. There is overshoot, bounce, and friction. And the reason why there's two of them, because one of them is for the position and the other one is for the rotation. I'm gonna make the overshoot only be 10 and the bounce only be 10. And I'm gonna do that for all of these. So this might take a minute, but it's worth it. And I noticed that I forgot to do it on the second one here. So that's another cool thing about this Motion V2 is that it comes with a bunch of easy settings, and they're pretty highly configurable for certain effects that are pretty common, like this excite and this jump tool, and it's just a quick way of adding some effects. In this case, some like a little bit of a spring effect, which is pretty common. So it just makes it a lot easier to work with this stuff. So let's preview this now. It's a little slow right now as it's rendering, but this looks good. This is not a crazy overshoot like it was before. So, and there's not much of a bounce to it now. So this looks good. Now the only thing is that they all come in at the same exact second, which is a bit weird. So I'm gonna make them all come in initially. So now they're all coming in at the beginning, even with the header stuff. And then we're gonna make them all a little bit offset. So I'm gonna click on the second one here. I'm gonna press Command, then I'm gonna press the right arrow, say 4 times, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then press the open square bracket. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the same for this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what this did is that it made them a little bit offset, so they come in at slightly different times. So that looks pretty cool. Now this may be a bit overboard. If we were doing this for a real app, it doesn't need to be this funky, but the main goal here is that we're learning a bunch of techniques for some high fidelity micro interactions. So this looks pretty cool for this initial screen. So all this is happening in exactly 1 second, a little bit more because we offset them. So even though it took us a little bit of time to get this all going, it's really all for that 1 second. But the devil's in the detail. I think once you do this little things here with the timing, it makes a big difference. Now that we have our intro set up here, where these guys come in like so, let's think about what happens exactly when we're gonna click on this Quiet Comfort 35. So I have made sure that this image right here is actually a high resolution image of this pair of headphones. So when I do want to scale it, it can scale and stay pretty good quality. If you do want to do a similar effect, just to make sure that you have a high resolution version of that asset and it's just shrunken down, so when it does grow, it can stay good quality. So once this comes in, I'm thinking maybe around the 4-second mark, we're gonna tap on this guy. So let's take that into consideration and make these guys fade out at that point. So I'm going to select all these layers, actually all these layers, and press T for the opacity and drop in a keyframe right here, and we're going to make it fade out at about 15 here. We'll make them all be 0. except for the pair of headphones, as you notice, and yes, because we're gonna want that to grow. So these will fade out like this, and the pair of headphones is gonna grow. So let me go back here and let me drop in the scale for the headphones and drop one here, and also the position, drop a keyframe there, and then go right here. I'm gonna press U so I can see both keyframes. I'm gonna take all these ones and press U so we don't have to look at them. And let's make the headphones nice and big right here, and let's move this to around right here. Okay, that looks cool. Let me just give it that same easing quickly. We'll probably give this a little bit of a bounce as well, but for now this kind of grows like this, and let's make it take a little bit more time. Cool. Let us let's make this guy slide out. So let me drop in a position keyframe for this guy, and as the pair of headphones grows, we're gonna make this guy be all the way out, and let's also give him this easing. So when you do tap on this, this kind of happens, which is pretty cool. Okay, and then let's also make the search fade out. So let me click on that search, let me click transparency, and let's go here and drop in a keyframe, and then go here and drop in a keyframe. Now, as you'll notice, I'm using J and K a lot, which is just a quick way for me to jump between keyframes. Now I know at this keyframe its opacity is 100, and this keyframe it's 0, so that disappears. And so far it's looking something like this. We're gonna make this look a lot cooler. Let's quickly take, as you notice when I'm on my headphones here, which let me rename this to headphones, you'll notice I can see my these dots right here, which I can grab this node right here and move it just like this. What this is going to do is this is going to make it animate this way. So now there's a little bit of a curve to it. And let's also give this a little bounce. So I'm gonna hold command and kill the easing on those last keyframes and click excite. And actually let me undo here. I think I already had some, so let me delete these and click on this and click excite. And let me give this, let's keep the overshoot at 20 here, but we'll make the bounce 20 as well. And let's take the first keyframes and let's make those have a really strong ease in, ease out. So now it looks something like this. Oh, pretty cool. So it looks something like this. Very cool. So let's also make the background now change colors. So let me just go right here and create a circle, and let's go this size, and let me give it the color I just copied, and let me make its anchor point be right in the middle, and let me center it right here. And I'm gonna do the open bracket and bring it right here. And what else I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make the scale be 0 at this stage, and I'm gonna make the scale be really big as it fills the entire screen right here. and I'm gonna give it that same easing. And of course, I'm gonna move it all the way down to the back. So I can do this, and let's move it one more layer back. Let's call that black background. So now I'm gonna press Shift / and so now when I click on that, you'll notice that all happens. So it happens too fast, but let's fix that. So we'll make that come in right about here. So as these fade out, this does this. So it's happening a bit too fast. Let me slow it down. Boom, boom. And I think I'm not a big fan of the easing. So let me change this so it's a bit softer on the ease in, ease out. Okay, and also what I'm thinking of doing is making it appear kind of with the headphones. So let me go here, but let me go back to the initial keyframe where it started and make it come in next to the headphones right here. So it kind of opens up with them. And let's give that same easing. And let's make that a bit stronger, that easing. And a little bit faster. Okay, it's starting to look cool. Actually, I don't think I'm liking the way it's coming in from there. Let me bring it back to the middle. I'm just going to remove that first position and keep that coming in from the middle. Something like this. So let's click New Composition and drop these guys in. So there we go. Let's also select all of these and go delete group layers. We don't need to see all those group layers. And I'm going to show you a technique that I use to kind of group everything together. So I would click Layer, New, Null Object, and I'm going to take all of these other layers and I'm going to parent them to here, or have this as the parent. And then I'm going to take this. Now you'll notice I have one null object here. So if I take this and I move it around, they all move with it, which is cool. It makes it super convenient. Oops, there we go. So let's drop in a position keyframe right here, and then another position keyframe right here, all the way down, say. And let's give this some easing. So this slides in. Now you'll notice this, put this in its own composition. Let's go back to our main composition and let's see how, let's drop that in. So I'm going to click on my projects. So this is my other composition called wireless headphones details. And I'm going to make that, I'm going to drop that in around here. So when this grows, this comes in. So I'm going to move it a little bit, something like this. So now it's looking something like this. So this is way too slow as we're seeing. Let's right now you can notice that it starts off at 0 and then is 146. So it's almost 2 seconds, which is way too long. Let me make this a lot faster. This should probably take about half a second. So let me move this to about 35 and then go back here. This is probably much better. Cool. What I'm gonna do here is, I feel like the animation is coming in a bit too much here. So what I'm gonna do is not gonna make it come all the way from the bottom. It's gonna come just from right here. I'm just gonna slide in just a tad like this. But that's gonna look weird. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make them all be fully invisible at first, and then they appear. So it's gonna look something like this. Very subtle, a little bit less of an animation. Actually, I'm probably gonna make it even less. So I'm gonna make it move just from right here. So there we go. Now it's moving a little bit less. That's much nicer. Okay, and let's make our headphones a little bit bigger. Let's go back here to our scale, and let's make this around this size. And right here. So they're gonna grow a little bit bigger. And let's make that Bose slide up a tad. So I'm gonna take this Bose and it's gonna slide around right here. It's gonna start to slide. So I'm gonna press the P position and drop in a keyframe, move right here, and it's gonna slide to right here. And it's gonna turn white. So let me come in here and go tint, which is my color tint, and drag and drop that right onto that Bose logo. And I'm going to drop in a I'm gonna make it white, but I'm gonna make the amount 0 and drop in a keyframe, and then move over and then make it 100%. So now it's gonna look something like this. So it slides up. It slides up a bit too fast. Let me slow that down. That looks nice. I think it's sliding a bit too much, so let me move that down a little bit. So now it does this. Very subtle, but it's pretty cool. And we also want the time here to change colors. So I'm going to take this tint effect that I just did. I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to paste it onto this guy right here. So paste. And if I press U now, I can see that. Didn't apply it. Let me check why. Tint. Oh, because we didn't change it to white. So let me change this to white. There we go. So now the time also changes to white. And I'm going to do the same for this arrow here. So I'm going to select this arrow and just press Command V. And let's also make sure this is white. So now when this grows, these change. This looks good. I think the headphones are a bit too big. Let me make that a little bit smaller. Let's take these guys and make the scale a little bit smaller. Much better. And let's move it up just a tad right here. Okay. So let's see how this looks. We're gonna click on that, and this grows and this transitions. Oh, and let me fix that. Looks pretty cool. So that's a basic transition, going from this to these animating, and then clicking on that, and it opens up. One thing I'm gonna try is for the background, instead of that circle, let me see if it'll look good with it just changing colors and without without the circle growing, because maybe that's a bit overkill. So let me come here and grab my circle, and instead of having the scale grow, let me keep it big, and then just let me make it fade from 0 to 100. Which also looks pretty cool. I'm gonna make the headphones be a little bit less of a strong ease in, ease out. So let me grab my headphones here and let me grab the initial easing, and let's make this more like around this much. Maybe a little more. Let's do this. Let's watch this at full speed. Looks pretty cool. Let's make it a little bit faster as well. Select these guys. Let's go all in on the ease in. And yeah, that was cool. So this is pretty much it for the transition here. Let's get this ready for demo purpose. Let's put a little tap gesture on this guy and put it inside an iPhone mockup, just so it looks nice for demoing. I'm gonna create a new composition, and I'm just gonna make it square. I'm just gonna make it 2000 by 2000. And let's call it demo. And then I'm gonna drop in my my main composition, and obviously it's pretty big, which is good because it's always better to have it big, so we can make it smaller. So it's cool. So now it's right here, and before we do that, actually, let me drop in the iPhone mockup. I'm just gonna double click somewhere here, and I have a phone mockup here. I'm just gonna drop it in, and I'm gonna drop it right at the bottom here. Actually, let me move it up on top here, and I'm gonna bring down the scale right here. Say just maybe around 73 for my maybe 73.5. There we go. Yeah, and you know what? I'm also gonna tie these together. So I'm gonna make that iPhone frame be a parent. So if I do move this, it moves together. So that's cool. So now we got this going on here. I'm gonna add a tap gesture right here. So let's create a circle, and let's make its anchor point centered. I'm gonna zoom in on this. You know what? I'm gonna make it white, and I'm gonna give it. I'm gonna bring down its transparency a little bit, and I'm gonna give it a drop shadow. Let's bring the distance in a little bit, and let's bring the softness like this. And now we have this little fake cursor. So we're gonna make this cursor come in around right here. I'm gonna make it be invisible at first, and then be visible. And I'm gonna make the position kind of slide in a little bit so your eye catches to it. Let's give it a little easing. So this comes in like this, and then we're gonna tap on this guy. So I'm gonna make the scale, just to kind of make the illusion of a tap, gonna make the scale be 100, and then I'm gonna make the scale be 70, and then back to 100. And then I'm gonna take these and move them to a place where there we go, that looks about right. And I'm also going to make it disappear once I click on that. So I'm going to click back on the opacity, drop in a keyframe, move a little bit, and make the keyframe be 0. Now, one thing I would typically do to keep my file as clean as possible, I would cut this right here. So I would cut this so I don't need to see the rest of the timeline. So this comes in, it taps on this, and it expands. I think I made my phone a bit too big. Let me unlink these guys, make my phone, maybe 73 was the right number. Yeah, 73 was. And yeah. So now my demo looks like this. This comes in, and I have this fake cursor that comes, and it taps on this, and then it opens up. I'm gonna make that a little bit bigger. Let's make the cursor be scale 120 and 120. Actually, maybe even more, 150. There we go. This comes in, you tap on this, and it expands. That looks pretty cool. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Let's take this and go a little bit smaller. There we go, that was cool. So pretty simple. Hopefully you take some techniques that I personally use, and hopefully it helps with your After Effects UI interactions. If you have any questions, please feel free to message me, and I'll be happy to help. And thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.